The Bristol Flyers Podcast.
Hello, welcome back to the Bristol Flyers Podcast, powered by Matchday Live. I'm Joel Osborne. He's Sam Hardy. Sam, this is a busy week, isn't it?
Flipping heck. This is what, 4 games in 8 days we've had. Is that what we will have by the end of this week?
Yeah, right now, at the time of recording, we're recording this on a Friday. So we have done 3 out of the 4 games in the last 8 days. We do have one more game coming up this Sunday at home to London Lions. But we've managed to squeeze in a bit of time to record a podcast for you. So you lucky listeners, because this is one of the busiest weeks of the season.
I actually shattered, Joel. I travelled to London last night.
So you went to watch the game?
Yeah, went to the Copper Box. Very cool. I only went last year for the, what did we do? The All-Star weekend, which
That's
was
right,
cool.
on the podcast, yeah.
Which was amazing. I've not been for a regular game. It was pretty cool there still. Did all right to get fans in there for a Thursday night, I thought. So, yeah.
Yeah, Thursdays are always tough sales, aren't they? Midweek hoops. We found our European North Basketball Leagues have been a bit slower to sell, and it's new audiences coming in. But I do quite like the midweek games. It's like a chance to, you get to do a game and you don't waste your weekend as well. It's great.
It's not a waste, Joel. Working at a Flyers game is never a waste of a weekend, I'll have you know.
Of course not. It's a great way of spending.
Coach is listening. Coach is always listening.
As we say, in the midst of a 4-game period in 8 days, lots of games to catch up on, Sam, because since our last podcast episode, we defeated 89ers away from home by 23 points.
Nice.
We went the distance against German Bundesliga side Bamberg on Wednesday in the European North Basketball League. Just fell short at the end.
Yeah, tough one.
And also, of course, last night we fell to London Lions away in the Copper Box in the Super League Trophy on the second night of a back-to-back. We will talk about those games in more detail later on in this week's episode. But before we introduce this week's guest, we've got producer Dan back. Dan, how are you, sir?
Very well, thank you. What a week.
I know, right?
Week. Lots of emotions.
Yeah. Well, busy week for you guys too, because we haven't actually talked about this yet, but it has come out the other week that the Super League announced their broadcast providers.
Yes.
Which is none other than the team behind the team at the Bristol Flyers Podcast, Bramvox. Not only do the Bristol Flyers Podcast, you're also doing every single Super League game this season.
Every single basketball game is coming out of the studio next door.
But you had months and months and months to prepare, my man. So you must have been really easy for you guys, right?
Let's change that to days and days, shall we? Yeah, not long.
How long did you actually have, from when you first found out that Bramvox would be producing all the games for Super League this season? What was the turnaround from then to the very first game you produced?
First whispers probably about 6 weeks ago, and then officially, probably about a month to go. Right, go for it. Yeah, put all your stuff in.
Now, for the listener, you may or may not know this, but 2 seasons ago, so the VJ King era, Bramvox were actually doing this themselves as well. But you've changed a lot of the way you're doing it. So it wasn't just a pick back up again from 2 seasons ago, was it?
No, not at all. We're trying to go, trying to be, what's the right word to say? Trying to be better. Always trying to be better.
Yeah, of course.
I think one day maybe we should do a little backstage video or something, Joel, and show you the sort of studio setup we've got next door.
Or maybe we take the podcast behind the scenes for a Bramvox game day and we learn all about what goes into producing Super League content. I'll tell you what, the ideas just keep on coming this season, don't they?
They've got a really cool van, actually. You've seen it, haven't you?
Parks at SGS.
At SGS. It's like one of those, I like to think of it as you could also double it up as a secret agent van where you've got an agent infiltrating some enemy, building, and you're in there going, go left, go right, in the drains and all the rest of it. Is that right, Dan?
Guys, he knows. He knows already.
There's a red dot on my head.
So, of course, busy week for you guys behind the scenes at Bramvox as well. And there's a few differences, of course, as you mentioned, the upgrades in the production. It's commentators back in-house again. Yep. So, obviously, all of us, you'll have heard us on DAZN being sat courtside now at the SGS College Arena. And all of the production, the directing, is done for Flyers, it's done on the van. But for every other game, it's done, as you say, in the studio next door, isn't it?
Pretty much, yeah. We've got 2 galleries in one room, which we built ourselves. And like I say, we'll do that behind the scenes video. I'll show you all the shiny buttons and how nice and cool it looks in there. But yeah, it's a hell of an undertaking. But yeah, we're enjoying it so far. It's been good.
Yeah, it's certainly great to have you guys back producing games this season. I imagine it means you're getting to watch a lot of other Super League games whilst you're directing them as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I did the game last week that went to overtime. Which game was that? They all blend into one at the moment.
It would have been Sheffield?
Yes.
Versus Caledonia.
Correct. Yeah, went into overtime. That was good. That was a really, really good game. Lots of good basketball in that. So, yeah, we're following a lot of teams at the moment, not just the Flyers. But, you guys are always in our hearts.
There we go. Any teams taking your fancy apart from Flyers, of course, this season?
I'll be honest, and this isn't me backing out of the question here, that there's nobody that's standing out just yet. The league is really going to be, I think it's going to be close.
That sounds like
really close.
You're backing out a little bit, Dan.
No, not at all. Because how good were London last year? And I know there's circumstances involved in that. But am I right in thinking until they beat the Flyers, they hadn't won yet?
Yep, that's right. That was their first win of the season last night against us. They lost to Leicester and they lost to Surrey away as well.
That was like a little stab in the heart, wasn't it,
We
Joel?
call it a scheduled defeat, Sam. It's the second night of a back-to-back.
Hey.
These things happen.
Jolly. I'm not disagreeing. I just didn't like Dan's tone, I should say. So.
Well, let's see what happens on Sunday, shall we?
Facts. We'll bounce back.
We will indeed. And of course, it is this Sunday at home at the SGS College Arena. Tickets for that game, by the way, are pretty much sold out. So make sure you go on to the next one, which is Leicester Riders next Friday. Big game, that one. Still a few tickets left for that. And yeah, that could be a crucial game in order to help us qualify for the Super League Trophy Final Four.
These home games are relentless at the moment, aren't they?
Savage. They're savage. Yeah, adding the ENBL stuff in there as well, it does get pretty full on. But the home games are savage, but because the SGS closes through Christmas, we don't have many home games through the festive period. So we're expecting, if you want to come watch Flyers, do it now, and then you get a bit of time off, maybe do an away game or something, and then obviously you have the second half of the season from January onwards.
Brilliant. Love that.
Right, so as you say, it is been a busy week for everyone involved, but we have managed to find time to get a podcast done. We've got a great episode in store for you this week, guys, because today's episode marks the first of our 20th anniversary season specials. And you know, Sam, how I mentioned we wanted to get former players from over the last 20 years with the programme onto the podcast, reminisce about their time with the Flyers. Today, Sam, we're not going too far back in time because we're going back to the 2018-19 season. We're going to be speaking to former Flyer Justin Gray.
Amazing.
You remember Justin Gray? It was a bit before. I mean, you were sort of just getting into commentating on Flyers for the PA, weren't you, at that time?
I mean, I'm not going to say it now because I'll say it when we actually have the call with him. But there's a couple of good memories from Justin of those years. It was a quality season. But yeah.
So shall we get to it then?
Yeah.
This is our interview with former Flyer Justin Gray.
This is the Bristol Flyers Podcast.
All right, welcome back to the Bristol Flyers Podcast, powered by Matchday Live, for our first 20th anniversary season special. And we are very pleased to say that joining us on the line all the way from Italy is none other than one of our Bristol Flyers stars from the 2018-19 season. We've got Justin Gray on the pod. Justin, welcome.
How you guys doing? Thank you for having me on.
Mate, I don't think we had the podcast back when you were in your rookie season with the Flyers, right?
No, definitely not.
A lot's changed since you moved on from the program, Justin. But it's great to have you back here on the podcast for us. How's life treating you right now?
Honestly, it's a true blessing. You know, I'm in Italy in the top league. Here with my family, playing at one of the highest leagues in the world. So I couldn't be any more proud of myself and my situation. I'm just really excited for the season.
You must miss the British weather in Italy, though, right?
Absolutely not. Oh, actually, recently it's been just like the UK. It's been raining nonstop.
It's
raining
tough,
threes, am I right? Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, raining threes.
I love it. Pallacanestro Varese is the name of the team. Is that right?
Pallacanestro Varese.
Varese. Got to get it. You got to get it right in the accent.
I actually just had pizza for lunch.
They made sure.
Is that what they teach you when you get there first thing? They tell you how to pronounce it correctly.
Yeah, because they said the fans will get mad at you if you don't pronounce it right.
Genuinely.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
You were saying the Flyers wrong the whole time you were here, but that's fine.
The Bristol Flyers. Woohoo! Love it. Not a bad place to play pro ball, is it, out in Italy?
Whereabouts is it, actually, in Italy?
Northern Italy, so it's about 40 minutes from Milan.
Nice. Have you had a chance to go down to Milan yet?
Yeah. I go down there a lot. Specifically where Varese is at is in a great location. So you can go to Milan and some other great cities, and then you can also go to Switzerland. I'm about 15, 20 minutes from Switzerland.
Amazing. And all your games, we're looking actually online before we did this interview, all your games this season are being broadcast on DAZN, just like the Flyers Super League games. So if there's any Flyers fans that want to watch some of Justin's games this season, they already have to flick over to the Serie A channel on DAZN and they can watch all your games, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's where we watched the last game.
Is it? You keeping up chat with the Flyers? You following the Flyers' progress this season?
Yeah, absolutely. I usually do every year, especially with Flo. So we're really big fans and make sure we keep up with you guys. You
mentioned Flo, of course. Flo used to play for the women's team, and you guys met when playing for the Flyers. And I know congratulations are in order as well for the two of you because you're expecting another child number 2.
Child number two. It's crazy.
I can imagine it can be quite a challenging for you to balance sort of fatherhood with your playing career as a whole. How do you manage to do it? Because I imagine there's not much sleep involved.
Yeah, not much sleep. Flo's really good with making sure I get my rest and everything that I need to do in order to perform at the highest level. But it's definitely a learning process for me just to make sure that I have time for Cairo and our family, but also, have enough energy to play and perform. But I wouldn't want it any other way. You
mentioned Cairo. Maybe one day, if he's playing basketball, maybe the Flyers' 40th anniversary season, we see a young Cairo Gray signing his first pro deal with the Flyers. What do you reckon?
That sounds good. It has a nice ring to it.
Well, Justin, let's dive into the meat and potatoes of this conversation. Thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us and catch up and reminisce with us on the podcast. I'm sure you would have known this year we're celebrating the club's 20th anniversary season on the pod, and you are the first of our former players to come on the pod and help us celebrate.
Absolutely, man. I wouldn't want it any other way. I appreciate it. It's an honor. I'm excited to have a conversation with you guys.
Just a bit of background for the listener, because a lot of our newer fans, they may not be familiar with you, because you picked up a lot of fans over the last few years or so, but you were part of our 2018-19 roster. You joined us for your rookie season out of Texas Tech. Just give us a bit of a rundown of your pro career so far for the new fan that maybe isn't familiar with yourself.
Yeah, so after Bristol, I went to Kosovo, which was an experience in itself. Definitely grateful for the experience, but not the best place, I would say. Then after that, COVID hit, and that kind of shifted the whole entire market. Everybody had a very difficult time finding a job. So I kind of went that whole year just training, kind of ready on call, waiting for somebody just to pick me up, sign me. So I actually went that whole year without getting a job or anything. So I was just training every day. And then Portugal hit me January 2021, a team called Cabo Madeira, so Madeira Island. And went out there for half the season, did my thing, played really well. And then after that, I got, this is some time ago, Poland. I went to Poland. For a team called PGE Stargard. That was a great season for me, great experience. After Poland, I went to Greece. So that was probably one of the best experiences I've had. I had a beach house, living on the beach.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, that was amazing. Great league, played a lot of great competition. Was playing out of position there, actually. I was playing the 4 and the 5 in Greece.
Oh, wow. What?
Yeah.
You practicing some of your post moves, were you?
Yeah, I was. Setting screens and rolling. But so that was definitely an experience. And then after Greece, I got Germany, BBL.
Yep, of course, with Bamberg.
And, Bamberg Baskets. That was an amazing experience. Great club, very professional. Took care of everything that I needed and made it easy just to play basketball. So I really enjoyed my year there, and then I just signed a 2-year deal in Italy.
Amazing. Well, it's so great to sort of see, check back in with our former players and see what they're up to, because, you know, it all started off with Flyers. It's where you began your pro career. Let's kind of run it back to that summer of 2018. You just finished your last year out of college, Texas Tech in the Big 12. You find an agent and you look to turn pro. And you must have had so many different offers on the table, right? But what was it that kind of made you pick, like, yeah, Bristol, this is the one place where I want to start my pro career?
I think the easiness of the transition, being from obviously the States and transitioning to the UK, it's very similar. Has a very unique background, culture, kind of like a melting pot, if you want to say, in Bristol. So a lot of different cultures are in the city. And I just think it was a great experience for me and something that I wanted to try. Never been to the UK in my life, so I kind of it felt right.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? How, like, when you're deciding where to play, it's all a bit of a butterfly effect, isn't it? And where, like, if you hadn't have ever played in Bristol, your life wouldn't have been as it is now. And it's
100%.
It's so crazy to think that those small decisions can make all the impact, right?
Yeah, definitely. You know, everything happens for a reason. Wasn't sure where I was going to end up after, you know, playing in Bristol, but definitely it was my first opportunity pro, and I'm grateful for that. And I definitely wouldn't be in the position I am now if I didn't play for the Bristol Flyers.
Do you still think fondly of your season with the Flyers all those years ago?
Yeah, all the time, actually. Fred is definitely a close friend of mine, and we keep in contact. Jalen McLeod, Tevin, Chris, Panos, you know, just the whole group of guys. It was a great team, a great year. We had a lot of fun. And I think about it all the time.
Yeah. I remember we were playing in the pinstripe uniform, weren't we? It was like the blue and the red pinstripe jerseys. It was the first year we had pinstripes. You made 31 appearances that year. You were the third leading scorer on the team, 13 points, just under 5 rebounds a game. We actually finished 10th that year out of 12 teams. But we actually had some incredible performances despite only missing out on the playoffs. You look back on that season as a whole, Justin. What were some of your fondest memories of that year?
I think by far the fondest memories was, I mean, you probably know this, Joel, is hitting the game winner versus Sheffield Sharks.
Well, the cheating one, you mean?
Hey, I've got this in my notes. We can get onto this if you like.
Well, let's talk. Have you got the video?
We can put the video up on screen in the edit, but I was watching this play back, Justin, of your game-winning 3 against Sheffield Sharks. Did you know that the back of your foot was on the sideline when you took that shot?
Yeah, Flo tells me that all the time. I thought I was on my tippy toes, so maybe there was some space under. But you could see their bench like pointing at my foot as I was shooting it. But hey, if refs didn't call it, good.
Hey, it counts. It counts.
But you look on the video, you are so out of bounds, aren't you? Like, you just are.
Yeah. But I remember that because that was the only the second game winner we've actually had in what was the BBL era at the time. The first one was Brandon Boggs, and then Justin hits this one against Sheffield Sharks, and that was an incredible moment. And it's moments like that where often we get fans that come to Flyers for the first time. They don't really know what to expect, their football backgrounds, their rugby backgrounds, and all it takes is coming to a game, seeing a moment like that in person, and they get hooked. And it's crazy. We've heard so many stories of fans that have got into becoming huge Flyers fans because of moments like that shot, Justin, against Sheffield Sharks.
Yeah, it was an incredible feeling after the game, just seeing the crowd, everybody run onto the court, the excitement, the energy. It's something I definitely will never forget.
Yeah. Let's talk about some of the teammates from that year. You mentioned them earlier, like Fred Thomas and Jalen McLeod, players like Dan Adozie, Mike Vigor, for example. You guys must still all be in touch, right? Or just keeping on track. Even if you're not talking all the time, just staying up with each other's careers on Instagram or just following each other, seeing how they're getting on, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely follow everybody or try to do the best that I can. And we definitely keep in contact from time to time, just checking in with each other, seeing how everybody's doing, because we were a close team that year. And I think that made the transition for me a lot easier, just being around those group of guys. And nobody was really, an a-hole or anything. They're all a great group of guys.
I like how you said a-hole because we're a PG podcast here, Justin.
family podcast.
That year, honestly, Fred for me was one of the coolest players to ever see play. And that whole team was amazing, but he was amazing, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was definitely one of my favorite players to play with.
Yeah, he ended up staying for a second year with us, and he had his season cut short in the cup final. We made the cup final the following year. He sadly broke his wrist that season and had to go home. He actually went on to play with Jalen McLeod, didn't he, in Portugal shortly after that on the same team?
He did. Yeah, he did. I remember calling them and just talking to both of them because obviously I played there. Basketball's a small world.
It is.
Small world.
Yeah.
It's a very small world. So when I saw both of them signed, it was kind of crazy. I was just like, what are the chances that both of them, guys that I played with, are playing for a team that I played for? So they just had a lot of questions, just how the city was or, anything. And I just told them they're going to enjoy it. It's Madeira Island, one of the best places, in the world.
Yeah. That's amazing. It's like you say, it is such a small world, and we'll get on to just how much of a small world it is later on in the podcast. But obviously this season for Flyers is the 20th anniversary season, not only for the club, but for Coach Kapoulas and Coach Nick Burns, who have both been there from the very start. And I know you're still in touch with Coach K quite a lot, aren't you?
Yeah, for sure. So anytime in the summer, we usually come back to the UK after visiting my family in Florida. We usually, stay in Bristol. We have a place in Bristol. And I usually try to train in Wise, if and when I can. So I usually contact, Coach K and see if I can get in there just to see him, chop it up a little bit and train while I'm in town.
I think, isn't Raf actually living in your house at the moment in Bristol?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah,
he is. Gotta keep the family ties.
I remember, it's funny you say, because I remember, I think it was like 22, 23 or something, and I was walking into SGS to grab some practice content that season. I just remember seeing you doing some individual workouts at SGS, and it was just a familiar reunion. I wasn't expecting it. It's a really pleasant surprise. You're just in there getting some shots up.
Yeah. A lot of people, when I was walking in there, they're like, "Are you back?" And I was like, "No, I'm just training here,"
But that's really good, though, how the club can still give you facilities like that to practice, even though, you're always part of the Flyers family and we're always here for whatever you need. That's such a great relationship that you must have with Coach K.
Absolutely. He's definitely one of the best coaches I think I played for and just a great human being overall. He helped me grow as a player. And, anytime I'm in town, we can just talk about life. I remember when I signed to Greece, he was so excited. And just giving me so many tips, advice, best cities, best foods to try and all that. So it was, it's always great to see him.
Yeah.
And swear words, taught you some, yeah?
Teach you a few Greek swear words? You learn there, Justin?
Maybe one or two. Just to say on the court.
I love it. I know you only played for him for the one season in your career, but what was he like as a coach to play for?
Just he expected a lot out of you. He pushed me along with my teammates. I always expected perfection. I'm a perfectionist myself, so we kind of saw eye to eye in that regard. And then he just, like I said, he just pushed you to be the best player possible. So that's pretty much all you can ask for as a rookie.
Yeah, and you won't find anyone more passionate about Flyers basketball. I mean, it's a program that he's kind of built up from the ground up over that 20-year period alongside Nick Burns. I mean, from the lowest division in England to now be playing in European competition, it's an incredible achievement for him. You don't often see that in sport at all now, do you?
No, you don't. And especially his commitment, his discipline, his passion that he has for this club is something that I've never seen before.
And now for him, his side to be, he's talking about the small basketball world, his side to be competing on Europe and playing against Bamberg, which of course is the team that you formerly played for, a team with such rich tradition in European competition. I imagine you kind of had your eye on that game quite a bit.
I did. I had a circle on my calendar. Definitely wanted to tune in for that. And like I said, it's great just to see Bristol Flyers play in European competition, as well as Bamberg. They have a rich history in that club. We didn't play European competition last year, which kind of was a bummer. But, it's exciting just to see both of them playing a European competition again and facing each other.
Yeah, of course, the timing has worked out really well for us because we wanted to get you on the podcast anyway, but we wanted to tie it in with the Bamberg game as a former player for both sides to talk about the game a bit. I mean, let's first talk about your season in Bamberg. You averaged 9 points and 3 rebounds a game, and you actually played, and again, we talk about how small the basketball world is. On your Bamberg team was another former Bristol Flyers player in Zach Copeland.
Oh, my dog. Yeah, that's my brother, man. It's we talked about just playing for the Flyers, both separate experiences. Obviously, we missed each other by a few years, but we definitely had that in common, and we kind of hit it off. Just talking about Bristol Flyers, but amazing player, amazing brother, amazing everything, man. He's a dog. He's a competitor. I know I can fight with him on the court any day, and just I'm glad to see him in Italy as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, because he's obviously another player that's moved on to Italy. There's quite a few players that are now playing in Italy, of course, like Dean Williams as well. They're both playing with Zach at Napoli as well. So the basketball world is so small. And just a bit of context for the listener in terms of Zach Copeland, because he was only with us for a short while. It was during the COVID lockdown season. It's the season we played in front of empty arenas, essentially. He only made 6 appearances, and he had that season-ending injury himself. But as you say, you had those conversations with him. Your paths didn't necessarily cross, but I imagine, just both having that opportunity to start your pro careers in Bristol was something that you guys instantly connected over.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, everything happens for a reason. And, we talked about his injury and things that he had to go through. And to see where he's at now, you would never know that had happened.
Yeah.
He's back 100% healthy, killing, doing what Zach does.
Have you come up across Napoli yet this season or not yet?
Nah, not yet, but I'm waiting for it. Yeah. But I already called Zach and said I'm waiting for that game.
Well, we're going to see if we can watch that one over here as well. We'll 100% keep on track with that one. But no, it's great to see how both of your careers have developed from playing in what was with the BBL back then to now playing in the Bundesliga, and then now obviously playing in Serie A. And I don't know if you would have known this, but when your time at Bamberg, you would have actually played with a lot of people that have connections to Bristol Flyers. The likes of VJ King last season, played for Hamburg. Eric Lockett, former Flyers player, played last season for Rostock. And then we mentioned about Dean Williams. He was a player that came through our junior academy. Uwe Baskets, Oldenburg, and of course we mentioned he's playing now on the same team as Zach Copeland in Napoli. But for a lot of those players, their careers were started or propelled by joining Bristol Flyers and then moving on to opportunities elsewhere in Europe. It's great to see.
It's wild. It's such a small world. Now, 29th of December, that's the date you need to look out for, Justin. That's when you are New Year game versus the old boys that you used to play with.
Oh, yeah. Well, we'll have our eyes peeled. Before we dive into this game against Bamberg, how many of the players are on the team this year for Bamberg that you would have played with last year? Do you know?
Philip Stanek, the center.
Flipping heck.
Big lad, isn't he?
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. Hey, unbelievable strength, yo. Unbelievable.
What was he like to compete against in practice?
Oh, he was a problem. He was a problem. Physical, hard, almost impossible to box out. But definitely just a brute force to be reckoned with.
And then, were there any other guys on that team this year that you played with last season?
A couple of younger guys. We called him Petko, but he was the point guard.
Petkovic.
He had the black. Yeah, Petkovic. He was kind of like a first league, second league type player that kind of bounced back and forth. Another player named Gabe. He didn't really play that much. Another player named Carson, but he didn't travel. Carson Tata. Kevin Woolrath. Mm-hmm. So the great group of guys. Like I said, it's a pretty new team, though.
Yeah, I was going to say there's a lot of new players, and we were actually speaking to their media person, Sven, before the game. He travelled down to SGS to the game, and he was mentioning that they actually were originally going to play in the FIBA Europe Cup, weren't they? And then there was I can't remember what he said the reason why.
The reason is that they needed to do they had to do a qualification game, and they were like, they didn't want to do that. They just wanted to either be in it or not be in it, not know, if that makes sense. Yeah. But then you guys came 11th last season, is that right? And the team that came 12th, then it just came out that they were allowed to play in Europe Cup without having to qualify. So he was pretty annoyed about that.
Yeah. So it meant that Bamberg obviously then entered ENBL, which is the same league that the Flyers are playing with. Would you ever think that, a few years ago, Justin, when you were playing for Bamberg and for Flyers, that the two teams would be playing in the same European competition against each other one day?
No, not in a million years.
Yeah, it just
I
shows
didn't think
how
that
much
would ever happen.
Yeah, it sort of shows how far the Flyers program has kind of developed over the years, right?
Yeah, 100%. Obviously, I'm kind of jealous too, because I was like, dang, if I was on Bamberg and then we were playing Bristol and I get to travel back to Bristol, it would have been an amazing reunion.
Well, let's dive into this game, shall we? Because it was, I know you watched it at home as well. Low scoring game, but there wasn't any shortage of highlight plays in there, were there?
No, definitely not. A lot of great plays on both sides.
Yeah.
I mean, you must have had, well, not you, obviously you used to play for them, but they must have had about 5 or 6 oops in the whole thing, like big ones as well from the top of the key and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
It was nice.
Keyshawn Fiesel was a big culprit of that throughout the game, just constantly just lob threats. And then there was that big one from Stanic as well in the fourth quarter that pushed it out to the third quarter, I think, that pushed it out to a 10-point game.
That was a nice pass. That was perfect.
Yeah, it was. It was really good. Yeah. Let's dive it. Let's run it back to the start of the game. The final score was 69-79. The first quarter saw very little between the sides. Both teams going back and forth. It was after a 5-2 start. Lewis and Tennyson getting the opening buckets for Flyers. Ibby Watson gave Bamberg their first lead. Bristol then retook the lead with just over 2 minutes to go in the first. And then Keyshawn Fiesel hit his first alley-oop. And there was the first half, despite Bamberg coming in as heavy favourites here, I felt like we really held our own, didn't we, Sam?
Oh, there was a big jam by Kalu, wasn't there? The one annoyingly, I can't remember who it was on, but the Bamberg player saw him. He jumped up and went, "Actually, nope."
It was Ibby Watson. Ibby Watson.
Business decision.
Nope, okay.
It was. That's what they call a business decision, right? He did not want to get onto Kendall Lewis's poster. Although I looked through the photos of that game. Here's the photo of the poster he did manage to get, which is Kalu dunking on Ibby Watson. And if you look closely at his hands, it looks like he's praying. He's got his hands together, and it looks like he's praying. So actually, it is the money shot. It's a really, really good photo. Incredible. But yeah, that was. Kendall Lewis was on one in this game, wasn't he?
Are we going to talk about it or what?
Yeah, I mean, he was just... Well, let's get to the third quarter first before we talk about that moment.
Fine.
Flyers couldn't really get anything going on the offensive end. They scored just 10 points in the third period. They were held scoreless for 4 minutes, the Flyers were. And then the comeback starts, and the home fans really got into it. And Justin, I know you've played in front of the home fans at SGS. They can be a difference maker, can't they?
100%. We'd always used to say they're like the sixth man. So if you give them, a reason or any opportunity to really get involved in the game, like, starting a comeback, they'll give you that extra energy, that extra push to get the job done. I really felt that watching the game from Wise. It was getting loud. Yeah,
we talk about a reason to cheer a lot. I mean, there was that breakaway dunk from Kendall Lewis. He knocked it loose and trailing by 10 points, by the way, with a windmill jam. That's a risky move, right?
Yeah, that was cold. That was cold.
It's one of those ones, isn't it, where if you're trailing by 10, you have to make that dunk.
If you don't make that dunk, Coach K is subbing you out the game right then and then, isn't he?
Yeah, well, he did make the dunk, in fact, and it blew the rim.
Yeah, he punched it.
He did. It was pretty.
He made it look so easy. It wasn't like there's those guys that are athletic, and then there's those ones that are athletic, and he is one of those guys, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. It certainly was a momentum-changing play. Then Keedy Johnson hits the 3 to start the fourth quarter. Producer Dan.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have stats or anything like that, Joel, but can I use the phrase, Bamberg were rattled at this point. They really were. Like, I could feel it. We were working on this game in the truck. We could hear it coming out through the doors outside. The crowd were on it, and I think Bamberg were rattled in that fourth quarter a little bit.
They were. Yeah. I mean, we slowly chipped away at the lead. I mean, Johnson hit that 3 to start the fourth quarter. Kendall Lewis hit a corner 3, and then we got to as close as 3 points with about 3 minutes to go, and we forced Stanic travel. I don't know if you remember this play, Justin, where Stanic, we called double team, Stanic travels with the ball, and then this sort of ruckus kind of explodes. Keedy Johnson knocks it out of his hands, and then Stanic just shoves Johnson, and then overcomes Damon Robinson. He gets involved as well. It sort of tensions blew up, didn't they?
It was really weird. I was listening to the referees talking about what they were going to do, right? I don't know if you were listening. You were probably talking on the commentary, weren't you? But They were literally talking about, so we were watching it back. Keedy just knocks it out of his hand. Like, it is a technical foul, let's be honest. It wasn't like crazy, but it was, he was being a bit sneaky, wasn't he? But then the push happened, and then the other push happened. They feel like they're worse than what Keedy did, but you can't really give them anything different, can you?
What did you make of that altercation, Justin?
I agree with that. It wasn't really necessary to kind of poke the ball, but, I've done that. I've had players do that to me. It kind of happens, but obviously that kind of initiated the whole entire, pushing and shoving and kind of just altercation. So I get why there was a tech on that regard, because it started the whole thing.
Yeah, and it's one of those ones as well, isn't it, where, like, if that hadn't happened, the momentum was on our side. I mean, the game stopped for about 5 minutes because the referees went to go look at the video review, see what happened, and then both teams are basically getting a free timeout at this point. Bamberg, who were sort of rattled at that time, had a chance to sort of regain composure, talk things through, and actually they came out better in that situation in the end.
I actually think there was a different moment that was worse. Not worse, but slightly more annoying, is that we put them to a 20-second offense. I think then Demond blocked. It might have been Stanic. I can't remember who it was, but he blocked someone.
Yeah.
Kalu caught the rebound, and then he fell over. And as he fell over, I think he tried to pass it to one of our players or whatever, because it would have been a travel or whatever, or he would have been out of bounds. They then got the ball back and hit a three, and that, the player to put them up by 6, and it kind of was a dagger.
it was Ibby Watson. So he hits that three off the offensive rebound, or the bobble out from the Kendall Lewis's rebound.
Yeah.
Then he gets that driving finish with the right hand that just triples over the rim.
Yeah.
And then and then the big one, the dagger, is that second one where he hits the second three. Essentially, it's a 9-0 run for Bamberg, and what was once a 3-point game with 3 minutes to go suddenly looks out to 10. And it's one of those plays where, maybe had that altercation not happened and Bamberg had a chance to recompose to then hit those threes and stuff, if the momentum was still on our side, that could have very much been a different outcome, right?
Yeah.
So it does mean that the Flyers fall to 0-2 in the European North Basketball League. 10-point defeat to Bamberg in the end.
I'd argue, though, Joel, they're probably two of our harder games in the group. Maybe the two hardest games in the group we've lost so far, right?
I agree, 100%. I mean, Back and Bears won the whole tournament last season, and we lost to them by 11 away from home. And then this Bamberg game, obviously them coming into this competition, one of the favourites with the rich European history that they have as a programme. For us to take them the distance and only lose in those last 3 minutes, we put on a very good name for ourselves. I think we did British basketball proud. But as you say, those are probably going to be the two hardest games in our group. And we can't take that for granted. We've got to play at this intensity now in the rest of our European North Basketball League games. But I think those performances can definitely give us confidence going into the rest of our European campaign, right?
For sure.
Quick rundown of the leading scorers in the game for Flyers. Kendall Lewis, 16 points, 7 rebounds. Trey Tennyson had 15 points. Keely Johnson, 14. Jared Sherfield, 11. Bamberg were led by Ibby Watson, 17 points and 5 assists. And then Macy O'Teague, 11. Ronaldo Segu with 15 points.
He was good. Segu was actually a very, very good guard, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's very solid. I mean, he was coming in off that game-winning shot against Ulm. Did you watch that shot, Justin? You see that do the rounds on social media? The game winner against Ulm in the German Bundesliga Cup?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually watched the game, so it was a great game. They played really good. Ulm played really well. But at the end of the day, that shot was just a dagger. He had the confidence to take it, knocked it down. And at home, too. There's no better feeling, like I said.
Yeah, it was massive. And that was Ulm's first defeat of the season as well. It was a cup game, so they're still unbeaten in Bundesliga. But that was, huge. They were coming into SGS with confidence to our game. And I felt like we kind of shut that down quite quickly in terms of it being a close game throughout. They could have easily come into that game with confidence and ran away with an early lead, but we took them the whole distance, so it's something to be proud of.
I feel like Segu played quite a lot like Dennis Schroeder. Did you think about that or not?
He's a very shifty guard, isn't he?
Yeah, very much so.
He's shifty. Yeah. He's shifty.
Yeah. He's
For
very,
a guy
very
called
good.
Ronaldo, he had to be good, though, didn't he? I mean,
Yeah, if your name's Ronaldo, of course it is. Great stuff. Well, that's a little recap of the game, Flyers Bamberg. It's good to have Justin with us as a former player for both teams to help us break this one down. But Justin, before we let you go, what's next for you in your career? Obviously, you're playing in Italy now. You're on a 2-year deal, as you say. What does the future hold for Justin Gray?
Honestly, wherever God takes me. So just trying to stay as healthy as possible, be consistent, do what I do, and just try to win. That's pretty much it. And we'll see, where I end up, whether it's here in Italy or, Spain or another, country league. You never know with basketball. I think that's the fun aspect of, the job that we get to do. Obviously, I started in the UK and I've been to amazing countries and seen amazing cities, and that's one of the things that I've always wanted to do growing up, is just see the world. So it's a beautiful thing that I get to do that while doing something that I love doing.
The Flyers fans will hate me if I don't ask this question, but obviously you started your career in the UK. Could you ever see a future where you maybe end your career in the UK back with the Flyers? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, Flo and I talk about that a lot.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I think it would make sense, definitely, like on my last few years, and just to be in a comfortable setting, environment, club that obviously I'm used to and have experience with. So never know. We'll see.
Well, you'll have to wait until we've built that arena, though, because you're used to playing in much bigger venues now. Is that right?
You didn't got to do wise like that.
Hey, Justin. Yeah, I remember when you were with us. We were, I think, back when you were playing for us, when we first revealed the plans for the arena, and we still haven't got an arena. I'll tell you what are they like? Over here trying to get stuff built. What is it like?
Yeah, it's crazy. One final thing, Justin, before we let you go. I don't think I could live myself if I didn't ask you to move your camera and show everyone what's on your wall behind you on the left.
Oh, man.
Yeah, boy.
I'm in my son's room right now.
Spider-Man. Love it.
That's amazing.
Hey,
Dad, we got the mat.
Everyone loves Spider-Man, man.
Yeah. Got to.
Amazing. Well, Justin, thanks so much for joining us as our first 20th anniversary special edition episode. And who knows, off the back of that answer, who knows what could happen? Could see Justin Gray back in the end of his career.
That'd be so exciting.
Watch this space. But Justin, thanks so much for joining us, and best of luck with the rest of your season.
Thank you so much, guys, for having me. I appreciate it. Appreciate your time.
This is the Bristol Flyers Podcast.
Well, that was our first 20th anniversary edition episode. Sam, that did not disappoint at all. Incredible.
What a good guy. Just what a good. He's such a nice guy. And I think fondly of those years, man. They were great, weren't they?
Yeah, 100%. I know he only spent one season with us, but it's just good to get like former players. I mean, I'm going to do this throughout the season. So that was from the 2018-19 season. But let us know who you want to speak to, who want us to speak to next on the Bristol Flyers podcast. If you've got a favourite player from Flyers years gone by, reach out to us. You can leave a comment on YouTube at Bristol Flyers on every social media platform.
We need to get Eric Lockett on, and my wife will lose her mind, mate.
She loves Eric Lockett. She does love Eric Lockett.
She does. I would say, Jolie, that was so nice to hear him. But what the good thing about having him is we will see him around because he's got ties to Bristol. They got their house here. Flo's obviously been here. So it is nice that we've got him on, but he will probably pop in every now and then, won't he?
He left a little nugget for us at the end there as well. A little teaser. Could we see Justin Gray come back to Bristol Flyers 1 year? Who knows?
Just reel him in, Joel.
Yeah,
Just reel him in.
Hopefully, by the time if he does come back, we'll have the arena up and running by then, though. Because it's been a long time. But that was our first of many interviews we want to do. Guests, we could have anyone from over the last 20 years. Players, staff. So do let us know who you want us to speak to. And we'll try and make it happen. On that note, Sam, we've got a few games to round up, a bit of news to run through. So it's time for us to get to the news!
You're listening to the Bristol Flyers Podcast.
Right, a lot to go through over the last few weeks or so. Oh, last week or so, even a few weeks or so. Feels like a few weeks.
Honestly, we've fit enough into these last week, haven't we, Jolie?
It's been crazy.
Sunday's game. Should we start with Surrey?
Yep, let's start with the Surrey 89ers. Of course, Flyers, they secured their first road win of the season last Sunday. Emphatic 92-69 win over the Surrey 89ers in the second meeting between the two teams in the last 2 weeks.
Honestly, we were unreal, weren't we, Joel? We just were.
Start to finish, I felt from the get-go, the energy was high. We were knocking down shots. Everyone was getting involved. It was a very, very solid game, considering the week before, almost went the distance against them.
I feel like this is going to become sort of a theme. But one thing I did say, I think I said it last time or maybe before, that we're this close to having some unreal jams by Kendall and by Scherf. And in that game, we had an unreal putback dunk. We're left-handed.
It was outrageous.
It was just annoyingly, again, it wasn't quite like posterizing. It was Josh Steele, I think, was under him, wasn't it? It wasn't quite that, but it was still absolutely stunning, Jolie.
Did you see how high he got on the vertical on that, by the way, as well? It was 2-footed, up with the left hand, and just, I think his elbow was like in level with the rim or something like that. It was crazy.
So easy for him.
Let's run it back to the start. The Battle of the Bigs opened up the game. Damon Robinson got the Flyers off the mark with the first 4 points. Damon Delican had a strong start for Surrey as well. That was a tasty matchup between those two bigs because, of course, Damon Delican was so crucial in that game against us the previous week. But that was an exciting matchup to watch early on. And then, of course, we saw the return of Raf Thomas Edwards from injury. He had 13 minutes at the bench and he scored 13 points.
He's just different. He isn't built the same as everyone else, is he? He like that drive through. He's so powerful, unreal. Played so well.
I think he is like a difference maker on the team. One, not only because of his experience, he knows what to expect, but like the physicality that he brings off the bench as well. And he scored 13 in 13 minutes, and you could tell he was itching to get back out there on the court. Of course, just returning from injury, and he certainly doesn't disappoint early on. We doubled up the Surrey Niners in the second quarter and really blew the game wide open. The lead stretched out to 20 points. Can we talk about this Corey Samuel's offensive rebound in the fourth quarter, by the way?
I honestly think it was my favourite play of the whole thing.
Go on, Dan.
What? He was like Superman.
Yeah, it was.
He was like flying horizontally towards the bucket. Oh my goodness. It was amazing.
It was great. And that made our Coach K's play of the game.
If you didn't see it, he like there was a shot. I can't remember who shot. It kind of bounced out. He leaped up in the air. He was kind of knocked, so he's like horizontal, and he hits it almost. He kind of slaps the ball and it just pops in off the backboard and in, doesn't it, Jolie?
Yeah, and you know it's been a long night when your point guard is getting up there and crashing offensive rebounds in that manner. Long night for Surrey. They ended up falling by 23 points in the end. That was the Flyers' first road win of the Super League Trophy campaign to improve to 2-1 on the season so far. Then, of course, we had the Bamberg game, which we covered with Justin Gray, former Bamberg player. So we won't talk about that on this bit of the podcast because you would have already heard it. However, last night, we had the second night of a back-to-back after falling to Bamberg on Wednesday. 24-hour turnaround, by the way, is incredibly tough for an away trip to London.
Well, not just that, like, the Bamberg game was amazing, but like the guys gave their all. They put everything into that game, and like I said, we travelled with the team yesterday, and they were in high spirits, but like they were always going to be a little bit tired from the night before, weren't they?
You look at like defense, we were a bit slow at times. The foul count was very high. A big part of that may have been down to tiredness on the defensive end.
Neither of us were playing that well, if I'm honest with you. Like London weren't impressing me that much in the first half either. But did you see that stat that Dan Routledge put out? It was our lowest scoring half since 21.
Yeah, so let's run it back to the start. The final score was 76-65, very low scoring game. Both sides struggled to score the ball in the first quarter. Damon Robinson had the first 5 points for Flyers, including a 3. 6 of London's first 10 first quarter points, by the way, were scored at the free throw line, and this was a common trend throughout the game. They finished with 75 points, and it's around 20 of those were from the free throw line alone. I was looking at the stats, actually. We scored the same number of field goals as London in the game, but the difference maker was the free throw line.
Yeah.
Second quarter, London slowly edged the Flyers in the second, but Trey Tennyson, talk about the little behind the back dribble and
now,
floater.
did it go behind the back or did it go through his legs, like behind the back and through his legs? I was trying, from where I looked like, it looked like he brought it behind and then it popped it between the two legs.
It was hard to tell in the broadcast. I thought it went behind the back.
Okay, cool.
Like splitting the defense, like behind the back like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, it might have gone through the legs. I don't know. I have to watch it back now.
Well, I've watched it back on the stream and I can't tell, but from where we were sat, it looked like it went through the legs. But it was just beautiful. The little float was tasty as well. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, London struggled to find their range from 3. They didn't hit a single 3 at the halfway point. They only hit like 2 threes for the whole game, maybe 3.
3. That Jordan Taylor one was the.
Oh yeah, at the end, the Jordan Taylor one. Yeah. London led 34-25. The game's still hanging in the balance. In a low-scoring game like this, even though we're trailing 34-25, it actually feels like a much bigger deficit because points are really hard to come by in this game. So Flyers sort of rallied back in the third quarter. They cut it down to a 4-point game at the end of 3.
Flipping hell.
The game was in the balance. Jaden Dallaire, Ovi Soko kept causing problems on the offensive glass for us. And then Jordan Taylor sort of took over in that fourth quarter. He hit that massive three, which kind of was a dagger, really, and sort of snuffed out any chances of a Flyers comeback. It means, though, we do face London Lions again on Sunday with a couple of days rest this time. So tickets, I think at the time of recording, they're sold out or they're almost sold out this Sunday, 3 p.m. tip-off against the London Lions. Final bit of news to get to, Sam, and this one's a biggie because we are offering a pre-order on Loyal to the Game merchandise. Now, you see Sam and I have got our Loyal to the Game polos on.
Dan, are you wearing yours? No, he's not. You're a liar.
Why are you not wearing it, Dan?
I'm wearing my other branded merch.
Let me see.
My Brandvox stuff.
Oh.
I'm loyal to 2 games.
I see. However, there is a pre-order right now. If you go to bristolflyers.co.uk, you can go and pre-order some merch, Loyal to the Game merch. It's very, very limited edition. Go to the website right now. It won't be there forever. Full details available on the Bristol Flyers website, bristolflyers.co.uk. And that's it for this week's news.
You're listening to the Bristol Flyers Podcast.
Well, that's going to do it for this week's episode of the Bristol Flyers Podcast. Our first 20th anniversary episode, edition, celebration episode, whatever you want to call it, in the book, Sam. It was fun, wasn't it?
And what an episode it was. Let's hope the others keep up with that one, match the level of how lovely Justin was, Jolie.
Yeah. And before we go, just a quick reminder, like, comment and subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, leave us a comment, share with a friend, all those podcasty things that podcast hosts tell you to do. Next week, we're back, hopefully, with a studio guest for a player. It's been a busy week this week. I've got to get ready for Sunday's game. Sam, anything else you want to add before we're out this week's show?
No, all good, my man. That was a lovely episode. I can't wait to do the next one with you, Jolie.
Yeah, and me too as well, Sam. Me too. But until then, we'll see you next time right here on the Bristol Flyers Podcast, powered by Matchday Live.